hallway at 3 in the morning. Her left eye was swollen shut, and dried blood clung to the corner of her mouth like a cruel reminder of what her life had become. She pressed her hand against the wall to steady herself, each step a painful reminder of the bruises that covered her ribs. The house was silent except for Robert's heavy snoring from their bedroom, the same man who had promised to love and protect her 8 years ago. Destiny paused at her daughter's door, watching 8-year-old Lily sleep peacefully in her small bed. The little girl's face looked so innocent, so untouched by the horror that lived in their house. But Destiny knew it was only a matter of time. Yesterday, Lily had asked why Mommy always wore long sleeves in summer. Last week, she had hidden in her closet when Robert came home drunk and angry. "I won't let her grow up thinking this is normal," Destiny whispered to herself, the words barely audible in the darkness. She made her way to the kitchen, where the moonlight streamed through the window above the sink. Her reflection stared back at her from the dark glass, a stranger with hollow cheeks and frightened eyes. This wasn't the woman who used to sing in the church choir, who had dreams of becoming a teacher, who believed that love could conquer anything. The first time Robert hit her, she was 22 and pregnant with Lily. He had apologized for hours, brought her flowers, promised it would never happen again. She believed him because she wanted to, because she thought love meant giving second chances, because her own mother had died when she was young and she desperately wanted a family. But second chances became third chances, and third chances became a way of life. The hitting became routine. First it was only when he drank. Then it was when he had a bad day at work. Then it was whenever she looked at him wrong, spoke too loud, burned dinner, or breathed in a way that annoyed him. Destiny opened the kitchen drawer slowly, careful not to make any noise. Inside, hidden beneath old dish towels, was a small envelope containing $300, money she had saved $1 at a time over the past 2 years. Every time Robert gave her grocery money, she would buy the cheaper brands and hide the difference. Every time she found loose change in his pockets before doing laundry, she would take just enough that he wouldn't notice. $300 wasn't much, but it was freedom. It was hope. It was the difference between staying and leaving, between surviving and living. She had been planning this moment for months, ever since the night Robert had grabbed Lily's arm so hard it left finger-shaped bruises. That was the night Destiny realized she wasn't just saving herself, she was saving her daughter from growing up in a house where violence was normal, where fear lived in every corner, where love was twisted into something ugly and painful. The envelope felt heavier than it should in her hands. This money represented every sacrifice, every small act of courage, every moment she had chosen hope over despair. She thought about her grandmother Ruby, who had raised her after her mother died. Grandma Ruby always said, "Baby, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what's killing you." Destiny tucked the envelope into her bra, right next to her heart. Tomorrow was Saturday. Robert always went to watch football at his brother's house on Saturday afternoons. He would drink too much and probably not come home until late Sunday morning. That gave her almost 24 hours to disappear. She had researched everything at the library when she took Lily for story time. She knew about the women's shelter on the other side of town. She knew about the bus routes and the schedules. She had memorized the phone number for the domestic violence hotline. She had even found a small apartment that would be available in 2 weeks, cheap enough that she could afford it with a minimum wage job. The plan was simple but terrifying. Pack only what they absolutely needed. Take the bus to the shelter. Apply for jobs from there. Start over completely. Give Lily a chance at a normal childhood where she didn't have to walk on eggshells or worry about making too much noise. As Destiny stood in her kitchen at 3 in the morning, counting and recounting her escape money, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: hope. Real, tangible hope that tomorrow could be different. That she and Lily could have a life where they woke up excited about the day instead of worried about surviving it. She looked at her reflection one more time in the dark window. The bruised woman staring back at her was still there, but behind her eyes was something new. Strength. Determination. The kind of fire that had been buried under years of fear but never completely extinguished. "Tomorrow," she whispered to her reflection. "Tomorrow we start over." She put the envelope back in its hiding place and crept back to bed, lying as far from Robert as possible. For the first time in months, she fell asleep quickly, dreaming not of the past but of the future. A future where Lily could laugh without looking over her shoulder. A future where Destiny could remember who she used to be before fear became her constant companion. But as she slept, she had no idea that tomorrow would bring challenges she never expected, discoveries that would change everything, and a kind of courage she didn't know she possessed. The hardest part wasn't leaving, it was what she would learn about herself and her family once she found the strength to go. Saturday morning came too slowly and too quickly at the same time. Destiny woke before her alarm, her heart racing with anticipation and terror. Robert was already gone. He had left early to help his brother fix a car before the football game started. This was her chance, and she knew she might not get another one. "Lily, baby, wake up," she whispered, gently shaking her daughter's shoulder. Lily opened her sleepy eyes and smiled at her mother. That innocent smile nearly broke Destiny's heart. How could she explain to an 8-year-old that they were about to leave everything they had ever known? "Mommy, why are you wearing sunglasses inside?" Lily asked, sitting up in bed. Destiny touched the dark glasses that covered her swollen eye. "We're going on an adventure today, baby. A special trip, just you and me." She had practiced this conversation in her mind 100 times, but now that the moment was here, the words felt clumsy and insufficient. How do you tell your child that you're running away from the only home she's ever known? How do you explain that her father, who sometimes played games with her and bought her ice cream, was also the reason they had to leave? "What kind of adventure?" Lily asked, her eyes lighting up with curiosity. "The kind where we get to start fresh. Like planting a new garden." Destiny sat on the edge of the bed and took her daughter's small hands in hers. "Remember how Grandma Ruby used to tell us stories about women in our family who were brave and strong?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. Grandma Ruby had been gone for 2 years now, but her stories still lived in their hearts. "Well, today we get to be like them. Today we get to be brave." Destiny's voice was steady, but inside she was shaking. "We need to pack quickly and quietly. Only take what you really need, okay?" The next hour was a blur of careful packing and whispered instructions. Destiny gathered their important documents: birth certificates, social security cards, Lily's school records. She packed 2 suitcases with only the essentials: clothes for a few days, Lily's favorite stuffed animal, a photo of Grandma Ruby, and the small jewelry box that had belonged to her mother. Every sound made her jump. Every car that passed the house made her freeze and listen. But Robert didn't come home early. For once, luck was on their side. "Mommy, are we moving?" Lily asked as they sat at the kitchen table eating a quick breakfast. "In a way, yes. We're going to stay somewhere safe while we figure out our next steps." Destiny chose her words carefully. Lily was smart, and she had seen and heard enough to understand that something wasn't right at home, but she was still just a child. "Will Daddy know where we are?" The question hit Destiny like a punch to the stomach. She looked at her daughter, this beautiful, innocent little girl who still loved her father despite everything. How could she not? He was the only father she had ever known. When he wasn't angry or drunk, he could be funny and playful. But those moments were becoming rarer and rarer. "Not right away," Destiny said honestly. "This is something we need to do by ourselves first." They finished breakfast in comfortable silence. Destiny watched her daughter eat, memorizing every detail of this moment, possibly the last normal breakfast they would ever have in this house. After today, everything would be different. At 11 o'clock, they walked to the bus stop 6 blocks away. Destiny had chosen this particular stop because it was far enough from their neighborhood that no one would recognize them, but close enough that they could walk there with their suitcases. The bus ride to the shelter took 45 minutes. Destiny spent the time looking out the window at the city passing by, feeling like she was seeing it for the first time. Everything looked different when you were leaving instead of staying. Buildings seemed taller, streets seemed wider, possibilities seemed endless. Lily fell asleep with her head on Destiny's shoulder, clutching her stuffed elephant. Looking down at her peaceful face, Destiny felt a surge of strength she hadn't expected. This little girl was depending on her to make the right choice, to be brave enough for both of them. The New Beginnings Women's Shelter was located in a converted house in a quiet neighborhood. From the outside, it looked like any other home, which was exactly the point. A small sign by the front door was the only indication of what it really was. Destiny stood on the front porch for a full minute before ringing the bell, her finger hovering over the button. Once she pressed it, there would be no going back. Once she walked through that door, she would officially be a woman who had left her husband, a single mother with no plan and very little money. But she would also be free. She pressed the button. A woman in her 40s with kind eyes and graying hair opened the door. "Can I help you?" "I'm Destiny Thompson," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I called yesterday about staying here." The woman's expression immediately softened. "Of course. I'm Sarah, the house manager. Come in, both of you." She looked down at Lily with a gentle smile. "And what's your name, sweetheart?" "Lily," came the shy response. "Well, Lily, we have some other children here who I think you're going to like very much." As they stepped inside, Destiny felt something she hadn't felt in years: safety. The house was warm and welcoming, with children's artwork on the walls and the smell of something delicious cooking in the kitchen. Women and children moved through the common areas, some talking quietly, others reading or watching television. "This is home for now," Sarah explained as she led them to a small but clean room with 2 single beds. "Dinner is at 6, and we have a house meeting every Sunday morning where we talk about goals and next steps." That evening, as Lily played with new friends in the common room, Destiny sat in their room and finally allowed herself to cry. Not tears of fear or pain, but tears of relief. They had made it. They were safe. For the first time in years, she could breathe without wondering if she was doing something wrong. But even as she felt the relief wash over her, she knew this was only the beginning. The hard work of rebuilding their lives was just starting. And somewhere across town, Robert was probably just now realizing they were gone. Robert Thompson came home Sunday morning with a hangover and a bad attitude. The house was too quiet, but at first he didn't think much of it. Destiny was always good at staying out of his way when he was in a mood. "Destiny," he called out as he stumbled into the kitchen. "Where's my coffee?" No answer. The kitchen was spotless, which was unusual. Destiny always left dishes in the sink when she was upset with him. "Destiny." This time he shouted loud enough to wake the neighbors. Still no answer. He stormed through the house, checking every room. Their bedroom was empty, bed made perfectly. Lily's room was empty too, but something was wrong. He couldn't put his finger on what, but something was missing. It wasn't until he opened Destiny's closet that reality hit him like a brick wall. Half her clothes were gone. Her suitcase was missing. The jewelry box that had belonged to her mother, the one she treasured more than anything, was nowhere to be found. "No," he said out loud, his voice echoing in the empty closet. "No, no, no." He ran to Lily's room and tore through her dresser drawers. Most of her clothes were gone too. Her favorite stuffed elephant, the one she never went anywhere without, was missing from her bed. For the first time in 8 years, Robert Thompson felt genuine fear. Not the kind of fear he was used to causing, but the helpless, desperate kind that comes when you realize you might have lost something forever. He spent the rest of Sunday calling everyone he could think of. Destiny's few remaining friends claimed they hadn't heard from her. His own family said they had no idea where she might go. The churches in the area had no record of anyone matching their description seeking help. By Monday morning, he was forced to do something that went against every fiber of his being. He called the police. Officer Marcus Davis was a patient man with 20 years on the force and 3 daughters of his own. When Robert Thompson walked into the station to report his missing wife and child, Officer Davis knew immediately what kind of case this was going to be. "When did you last see them?" Officer Davis asked, his pen poised over the report form. "Saturday morning. I went to watch football at my brother's house, came home Sunday, and they were gone." Robert tried to sound concerned rather than angry, but Officer Davis had been doing this long enough to hear the difference. "Had your wife been acting differently lately? Seemed upset about anything?" Robert shifted in his chair. "She's been moody. Women, you know how they get." Officer Davis looked up from his notepad. "Mr. Thompson, I need you to be completely honest with me. Were there any problems in your marriage? Any arguments or disagreements that might have led to this?" "Nothing serious. Normal married couple stuff." Robert's voice was getting tighter. "Look, I just want my family back. My little girl needs to be home." But Officer Davis was already seeing red flags everywhere. The way Robert couldn't sit still. The way he referred to his wife as moody instead of worried or scared. The way he seemed more angry than concerned about their safety. "I'm going to need to see your house," Officer Davis said. "Sometimes people leave clues about where they might be going." Robert didn't want to let the police into his house, but he also knew that refusing would make him look guilty of something. As they walked through the rooms together, Officer Davis noticed things that Robert had never paid attention to. Scratches on the walls at shoulder height. A bedroom door that didn't quite close right, as if the frame had been damaged. Fresh paint in the hallway that didn't quite match the rest of the wall. In the kitchen, Officer Davis opened drawers and cabinets methodically. In one drawer, beneath some old dish towels, he found something interesting, a small piece of paper with a phone number written on it. The number for the domestic violence hotline. "Mr. Thompson," Officer Davis said carefully, "is there anything else you want to tell me about your relationship with your wife?" Robert's face flushed red. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm not trying to say anything. I'm asking you directly, did you ever hit your wife?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Robert opened his mouth to deny it, but something in Officer Davis's eyes stopped him. This wasn't some young rookie who might believe his lies. This was a man who had seen it all before. Sometimes things got heated, Robert admitted, but I never seriously hurt her. And I never touched my daughter. Officer Davis nodded and wrote something in his notepad. Mr. Thompson, I want you to understand something. If your wife and daughter left because they felt unsafe, they had every right to do that. My job is to make sure they're okay, not to force them to come back. They belong with me, Robert said, his voice rising. Lily is my daughter. Destiny is my wife. People aren't property, Mr. Thompson. For the next several days, Robert became increasingly desperate. He drove through every neighborhood in the city, looking for any sign of them. He called the school to see if someone had requested Lily's records be transferred. He even hired a private investigator, a seedy man who promised results but delivered nothing but bills. The private investigator, a man named Chuck Riley, was exactly the kind of person Robert deserved to deal with. He took Robert's money and made a lot of promises, but he was more interested in drinking than investigating. Still, he asked all the right questions and made Robert feel like something was being done. Women don't just disappear, Chuck said during one of their meetings. She's got to be staying somewhere. As family somewhere. Someone's helping her. But that was the problem. Destiny really didn't have anyone. Her grandmother had died 2 years ago. Her few friends had slowly disappeared over the years as Robert made it clear they weren't welcome. She had no siblings, no cousins, no extended family that Robert knew about. 2 weeks after they disappeared, Robert was sitting in his empty house, staring at the walls and going slowly crazy. The silence was driving him insane. He had never realized how much noise Destiny and Lily made just by being alive. Footsteps, conversation, laughter, the sound of the television or radio playing softly in the background. Now there was nothing. Just him and his thoughts and the growing realization that they might actually be gone forever. For the first time since this whole thing started, Robert began to think about what he had done. Not just the hitting, he had always justified that in his mind as discipline or as something Destiny had brought on herself. But the fear. The way Lily would hide when he came home angry. The way Destiny would flinch when he raised his hand, even if he was just reaching for something. Had he really been that bad? Bad enough that his own wife would take his child and disappear completely? The answer came to him in the form of a memory: Lily's 8th birthday party 3 months ago. He had been in a good mood that day, happy and playful with his daughter. But then Destiny had cut the cake wrong, making the pieces too small in his opinion. Without thinking, he had grabbed her wrist and squeezed hard enough to leave marks. Lily had seen the whole thing. She had stopped smiling for the rest of her own birthday party. Sitting alone in his house, Robert Thompson finally understood what he had lost and why. But understanding and being able to fix it were two very different things. 3 weeks into their stay at the shelter, Destiny was beginning to feel human again. The constant knot of fear in her stomach was slowly loosening, and she found herself sleeping through the night without jumping at every sound. Lily had adapted to their new life with the resilience that only children possess. She had made friends with 2 other girls at the shelter and was attending a nearby school where the teachers were understanding about her situation. Most importantly, she was laughing again. Really laughing, the kind of deep belly laugh that Destiny hadn't heard from her daughter in months. "Mama, can we stay here forever?" Lily asked one evening as they were getting ready for bed. Destiny sat on the edge of her daughter's bed and smoothed her hair. "This place is just temporary, baby. It's helping us get strong enough to have our own home. But I like it here. Everyone is nice and nobody yells." The simple observation hit Destiny hard. Her 8-year-old daughter thought it was special that nobody yelled. What kind of life had she been giving this child? "You're right," Destiny said softly. "Nobody should yell at you. And in our new home, nobody will." Dr. Michelle Brooks, the shelter's therapist, had been working with both of them twice a week. She was a warm woman with gentle hands and infinite patience, and she had a way of asking questions that helped Destiny see her situation clearly without making her feel stupid or weak. "Abuse isn't just about the hitting," Dr. Brooks explained during one of their sessions. "It's about control. Making someone feel like they can't survive without you, that they're worthless, that everything is their fault." Destiny nodded, recognizing the truth in those words. Robert had never just hit her. He had systematically destroyed her confidence, isolated her from friends, made her question her own memory and judgment. "The hardest part," Dr. Brooks continued, "is learning to trust yourself again. Learning that your thoughts and feelings are valid, that you have the right to make decisions about your own life." That night, Destiny lay in her narrow shelter bed and thought about trust. For years, she had stopped trusting her own instincts. When Robert told her she was being too sensitive, she believed him. When he said she was lucky he put up with her, she felt grateful. When he promised to change, she convinced herself it was true despite all evidence to the contrary. But her instincts had been right all along. They had been telling her to leave for years. They had been screaming at her that this wasn't love, this wasn't normal, this wasn't what she deserved. The next morning brought news that changed everything. Sarah, the shelter director, called Destiny into her office with an expression that was both serious and excited. "I have something to tell you," Sarah said, gesturing for Destiny to sit down. "Officer Davis called this morning. Your husband has been looking for you." Destiny's blood ran cold. "Did he find us?" "No, and he won't. But there's more. Officer Davis did some digging into your husband's background, and he found something interesting. Robert has a criminal record that includes a previous domestic violence conviction from before you met him." The room seemed to spin around Destiny. "What do you mean?" "He was married before, Destiny. His first wife filed charges against him for assault. She had to get a restraining order." Destiny stared at Sarah in shock. In 8 years of marriage, Robert had never mentioned a previous wife. She had thought she was his first serious relationship, his first real love. All those times he had said she was special, that she was the only woman who had ever understood him, it had all been lies. "There's more," Sarah continued gently. "His first wife lives in California now. She's remarried and has 2 children. Officer Davis spoke with her, and she wants you to know that leaving was the best decision she ever made." The revelation hit Destiny like a physical blow. Everything she had believed about her relationship, about Robert, about herself, had been built on lies. She wasn't the first woman he had charmed and then destroyed. She wasn't special or uniquely suited to handle his anger. She was just the next victim in a pattern that had probably been going on for years. But instead of making her feel worse, this knowledge made her feel stronger. It meant that what had happened to her wasn't her fault. It meant that Robert's problems were his own, not something she had caused or failed to fix. "What was her name?" Destiny asked quietly. "Angela. Angela Martinez now. She said if you ever want to talk to someone who understands exactly what you went through, she would be happy to speak with you." That evening, Destiny called Angela from the shelter's phone. The conversation lasted 2 hours and changed her life forever. "I stayed for 6 years, Angela told her. "I kept thinking if I just loved him enough, if I just did everything right, he would stop hurting me. But the truth is he liked hurting me. It made him feel powerful." "Did you ever think about going back?" Destiny asked. "Every day for the first month. Even after everything he did to me, I missed the good times. I missed the man I thought he could be if he would just get help. But you didn't go back." "No. And you know what? 5 years later, I met my husband David. Real love, Destiny. The kind where someone builds you up instead of tearing you down. The kind where you feel safer with them than without them. I never knew love like that existed until I stopped accepting less than I deserved." After the call, Destiny sat in the shelter's quiet common room and thought about what Angela had said. For years, she had been so focused on surviving that she had forgotten she deserved more than just survival. She deserved happiness. She deserved peace. She deserved love that didn't come with bruises. The next morning, she made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She was going to apply for college. "I want to be a teacher," she told Dr. Brooks during their next session. "I've always wanted that, but Robert said it was a waste of time. Said no one would hire me, that I wasn't smart enough." "What do you think?" Dr. Brooks asked. "I think he was wrong about a lot of things. The community college had a program for women in transition, reduced tuition, childcare assistance, and flexible scheduling." Destiny filled out the application with trembling hands, remembering the girl she used to be before fear became her constant companion. As she wrote her name at the top of the form, she realized something profound. She was no longer just running away from Robert. She was running toward something better. She was running toward the life she had always wanted but never believed she could have. That night, as she helped Lily with homework, she felt something she hadn't felt in years: excitement about the future. Not just relief that the worst was behind them, but genuine anticipation for what was coming next. 6 months later, Destiny stood in the doorway of their new apartment, keys in her hand and tears of joy streaming down her face. It wasn't much, just a small 2-bedroom place in a safe neighborhood near Lily's school, but it was theirs. Really, truly theirs. The apartment had been made possible by a combination of things: the part-time job she had gotten at the community college library, a grant program for domestic violence survivors, and the incredible network of support she had discovered existed for women like her. Women she had never known about because Robert had kept her so isolated from the world. "Mama, can I pick which room is mine?" Lily asked, bouncing with excitement as she explored their new home. Of course, baby. This is our place. We both get to decide how we want it to be. As Lily ran from room to room, chattering about where she wanted to put her bed and her books, Destiny walked through the apartment slowly, taking it all in. Sunlight streamed through clean windows. The walls were white and unmarked, waiting for them to make them their own. The kitchen was small but bright, with enough space for a table where they could eat meals together without fear. It had been a long 6 months. After leaving the shelter, they had moved to a transitional housing program that gave them more independence while still providing support. Destiny had started her college classes, studying early childhood education with a focus on helping children who had experienced trauma. The coursework was challenging, but every paper she wrote, every exam she passed, felt like a victory. She was remembering what it felt like to use her mind, to learn new things, to have goals that extended beyond just making it through another day. Lily had thrived in her new school. Her teachers said she was bright and eager to please, though she still startled easily at loud noises and sometimes seemed worried about making mistakes. Dr. Brooks continued to work with both of them, helping Lily process her memories and learn that the chaos of their old life wasn't normal or acceptable. Some children who grow up in homes with violence think that's just how families are, Dr. Brooks had explained. Part of healing is showing her what healthy relationships actually look like. That lesson was reinforced by the community they had found. Mrs. Patterson, an elderly neighbor who had become like a grandmother to Lily, showed them what it meant to have someone in your life who was consistently kind and supportive. The other mothers at Lily's school had welcomed them warmly, inviting them to birthday parties and play dates without asking intrusive questions about their past. Officer Davis had become an unexpected friend and advocate. He checked on them regularly, not as a police officer investigating a case, but as someone who genuinely cared about their well-being. He had even helped Destiny understand the legal process for getting full custody of Lily, explaining her rights and connecting her with a lawyer who worked with domestic violence survivors. During one of their meetings, he could file for visitation rights, but given his history and the circumstances of your separation, any judge would be very careful about protecting you and Lily. The mention of Robert still made Destiny's stomach clench with anxiety, but the fear was different now. It was the normal caution of someone protecting herself and her child, not the paralyzing terror that had once controlled her every moment. She had heard through mutual acquaintances that Robert had gotten into several bar fights in the months after they left. He had been arrested twice for drunk and disorderly conduct. His brother had apparently tried to get him to attend anger management classes, but Robert had quit after 2 sessions. Some people change when they lose everything, Dr. Brooks had told her. Others just get angrier. The important thing is that his choices are his responsibility, not yours. You can't fix him and you can't save him from himself. Now, standing in their new apartment, Destiny felt truly free for the first time in years. Free to make decisions about their daily routine, their meals, their friends, their future. Free to raise Lily in an environment where kindness was normal and violence was unthinkable. "Mama, look." Lily called from her chosen bedroom. She had arranged her stuffed animals on the windowsill, and they were sitting in a patch of afternoon sunlight. "They look happy here." "They do," Destiny agreed, sitting on the floor next to her daughter. "How do you feel about our new home?" Lily considered the question seriously, the way she always did when Destiny asked her about her feelings. Dr. Brooks had taught them both that feelings were important and should be talked about honestly. "I feel safe," Lily said finally, "and I feel excited. Like we can do anything we want now. We can, baby. We really can." That evening, after they had unpacked their few belongings and ordered pizza to celebrate their first night in their new home, Destiny sat at her small kitchen table with her homework spread out before her. She was working on a research paper about the long-term effects of domestic violence on children and the interventions that helped them heal. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was studying to help other children who had been through what Lily had experienced. But it didn't feel strange or uncomfortable. It felt like purpose. Like all the pain they had endured was being transformed into something that could help others. Her phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. The caller ID showed a California number she recognized. "Hi, Angela," she answered, smiling already. "How's the new place?" Angela asked. They had been talking regularly over the past few months, and Angela had become something like a big sister. Someone who understood exactly where Destiny had been and could offer practical advice about building a new life. "It's perfect. Small and simple and ours. I remember that feeling. David and I lived in a tiny studio apartment when we first got married, and I thought it was the most beautiful place in the world because it was safe and full of love." They talked for an hour about everything and nothing: Destiny's classes, Lily's progress in school, Angela's teenage sons, and their latest adventures. Normal conversation between two women who had survived something terrible and come out stronger on the other side. After they hung up, Destiny returned to her homework, but her mind kept wandering to the future. In 2 years, she would graduate with her degree. She had already been accepted into a student teaching program at an elementary school that specialized in helping at-risk children. After that, she would have her own classroom, her own students to encourage and protect. She imagined herself as a teacher, creating a safe space for children who might be going through what Lily had experienced. She would be the adult who noticed when a child flinched at raised voices, who asked gentle questions about home life, who knew the signs of trouble and how to help. Late that night, as she tucked Lily into bed in her new room, her daughter asked a question that caught her off guard. "Mama, do you think Daddy misses us?" Destiny sat on the edge of the bed, choosing her words carefully. Dr. Brooks had coached her on how to handle questions about Robert, to be honest but age-appropriate, to validate Lily's feelings without making her feel guilty for having them. "I think he probably does miss you, baby. But missing someone and being ready to treat them well are two different things. Will I see him again someday? I don't know. That would depend on a lot of things, including whether he gets help for his problems. But what I do know is that right now, we're exactly where we need to be." Lily nodded thoughtfully. "I love our new home, Mama. I love it too, baby. And I love you. I love you more. I love you most." It was their old ritual, the same words they had whispered to each other during the darkest nights in their old house. But now the words felt different. They weren't just a desperate attempt to find comfort in the darkness. They were a celebration of the love that had carried them through and the love that would sustain them in all the bright days ahead. As Destiny turned off the lights and headed to her own room, she caught sight of herself in the hallway mirror. The woman looking back at her was stronger than the one who had crept through a dark house 6 months ago, counting escape money in the darkness. Her eyes were clear and bright, her posture straight and confident. The bruises were long gone, but more importantly, the fear was gone too. She touched the mirror gently, remembering that night when she had whispered, "Tomorrow we start over," to her reflection. She had kept that promise to herself and to Lily. They had started over, and it had been harder and scarier and more beautiful than she had ever imagined. Tomorrow she would wake up in her own bed, in her own home, with her daughter safe in the next room. She would make breakfast without worrying about burning it. She would go to her classes and her job without asking permission. She would come home to laughter instead of silence, to peace instead of fear. Tomorrow would be another day in their new life, a life built on hope instead of survival, on love instead of fear, on the unshakable knowledge that they deserved better and had found the courage to claim it. For the first time in 8 years, Destiny Thompson went to sleep excited about tomorrow. And in the room next door, her daughter slept peacefully, dreaming of a future filled with possibilities instead of nightmares. They had found their way home to themselves,